I do want to share with you a couple of the key insights that have come out of the research that we did last year on just consumers and what they think about this stuff. Here's a couple pieces of good news. People go outside to connect with family and friends. That's what the vast majority of folks are doing. Now, they might do that in a whole host of activities, whole host of venues, but I gotta tell you, you sit down on a plane, you sit down on a train, you go in an automobile with some new folks, and accidentally let one of your business cards fall out of your pocket that says the Coleman Company, oh, you're gonna hear a story that starts about a lantern or a stove. You just need to hope it's not a long flight. What's amusing, though, is while that story may well begin with a product, it doesn't stay on that product for more than 2 minutes. The story very quickly migrates to being a story about people. Connections that people had with their parents, their grandparents, their uncles, their brothers, their sisters, and the connections that they had outside. And the research tells us that that's still what's important to people who play outside. Connections with others. The other piece of good news, and I frankly found this one very surprising, is that most people understand. They're beginning to hear the message that there are lots of positive benefits to recreating outside, both physically and mentally. But there were sufficient barriers in their mind or in reality that prevented them from doing that. Aha. Now we have the first piece of information that may actually help us sell more product. Get more people outside. What are those barriers? Lots and lots of renditions of those barriers. It depends on individuals, but the themes that you can discern are very, very simple. It's complexity. It's complexity. If you talk to folks who didn't grow up hiking, camping, recreating outdoors, haven't done it for a generation, not introduced by their parents, the thought of planning, organizing, and executing an activity that they know nothing about, that is truly social in nature, I can embarrass myself with my friends and my family, is simply too daunting. Won't try. How about you take the family vacation, never having done this before, and risk the wrath of your kids and maybe one or two of their friends that tag along. Those are the kinds of verbatims we get back when we ask questions about complexity. Another one that we get, and it was surprisingly common, but I think I got it figured out now, is the comfort gap is too great. We live, you heard it here in color TVs, we live in a world where HVAC, think that heating and air conditioning, I don't know that the temperature in my house varies all that much more than 5 degrees all year. My wife sees today. Set the thermostat just right. We have a nice comfortable bed. Meals are easy, microwave. Think back 50 years in Coleman's history when this was a much more rural country, right? You might actually find that your comfort gap inverted. It might have been more comfortable to sleep outside by the stream in the woods than it would have been to sleep in that house upstairs with no air conditioning on the farm. The comfort gap is too great. I'm not going to work that hard. Aha, something else we can address. Affordability. It's easy to think about. We get this back, and it turned out to be a bit different than what I thought in terms of affordability. It's easy to think about the price of product, the price of fees, etc., when we visit the parks today or we want to get prepared. Think of yourself, throw all of your Coleman equipment out the window, all of your outdoor equipment out the window, and now say, let's go camping. That's a very daunting financial thought. I didn't get it. The insight, though, is think back 50 years, think back 70 years, think back to that more agrarian, rural society, and now think back about what must have been in the shed behind the house or in the barn that you would throw in your pickup And maybe you only had to add a 10, because you had an axe, you had a lantern. That was part of your everyday life. You didn't have to learn how to use that bit. You didn't have to buy those supplies that are incremental today, yesterday. So there is a genuine concern about, it's all of this stuff, none of which I happen to have because I live in an urban high-rise. And you travel the world, the other side of that coin is, I can afford all of that stuff. But in my 600 square foot apartment in the city, where am I going to put it when I get back? A genuine problem, opposite side of that thing. And then the last one, and this one came up in just so many flavors. It really, as a person who grew up, you know, so my parents were my dad was in the Air Force, son's a farmer, was the son of a farmer, he was brothers. So he swore never to go back on the farm, but he dropped me off there at Grandma's in the summer, and I'm not sure I got locked out because I was too afraid to touch the door. So I don't know if it was locked or not. But for me, it's really hard to get my mind wrapped around it, but people express genuine fear. Genuine fear. You know, they talk about things, when you look at the verbatims, they talk about things like Survivor Man, or they talk about everything outside that can kill you, whatever that might be. You know, it's those shocking videos, frankly, that drive the ratings. So we never really see the family goes out camping, has a wonderful time. They go out hiking for the day, has a wonderful time. No, we see the couple out walking on the trail attacked by a mountain lion. That's what's on TV. So there's genuine fear. That part's real about the unknown, what's out there. I don't know what I don't know. But the biggest fear ties back to the biggest reason. It's social. I'm afraid I don't know enough about this adventure to make sure my friends or my family has a great time. That's the biggest fear that's coming up in our research. Certainly not definitive. We only talk to tens of thousands of folks. We know we have hundreds of millions of people in the country, but I just think it's amazing to see those kinds of insights coming from so many people and being graphically described in such vivid terms by a lot of those folks.